All right. Welcome to Orchestrated Sports with Ian Martinez, as this is episode 1. Welcome. And we here at Orchestrated Sports, we will continue to keep cranking these podcasts out. And not only will we be doing this podcast series, but we will most definitely be doing film breakdowns, and we will be doing breakdowns of the LA Rams. When the NBA comes back, we'll be doing breakdowns of the LA Lakers. When the Major League Baseball, will be doing some breakdowns of the Dodgers. But not only those teams, we will leave out polls throughout, the season of each sport of, players and or teams that you would like me to break down, and we will definitely get to those. But again, very thankful for this opportunity to be able to present, this in-depth breakdown of teams and of sports to you guys, and I'm really excited about this. And today's episode will definitely be getting into the Rams' current roster, personnel changes, and coaching changes, and what I think who will be starting for each position of offense and defense and special teams, as well as covering some of the big draft picks that were made by the LA Rams in this 2020 NFL draft, as well as what I think of the new coaching hires, as there were quite a few at all 3 coordinator spots, offense, defense, and special teams for the LA Rams. Okay, but first we got to get to some stuff. First off being the uniforms. Do I hate them? No, I don't hate them. Look, they got the royal blue right. They got rid of the, what was that, St. Louis brown gold? I hated that color, by the way. And they got back to the traditional, bright yellow. Whatever they want to call it, soul. It's funny how they had to give that big old explanation how they came up with the colors. It's fine. They could have just easily said, hey, these are the colors that we like. This is what LA fans, Rams fans from the old and the new like the most. You guys petitioned to get the throwback uniforms to be worn for all of 2019 and then a majority of 2018. So, could they have done better? Yeah. I mean, they had since 2016 to get this right. 2016, guys, that's 4 years to get something pretty damn cool, and they ended up with something okay at best. I love the helmet, though. I will say that. The helmet is great. I know people are saying it's 2 bananas put together. To make up the new horn. I don't mind it. I don't really see that. I mean, if somebody points that out, I kind of get where they're, seeing that image. But I think it's good. I think the metallic face mask to go along with the metallic helmet shell, that all royal for the helmet to finally match the uniform. Because since last year going back to forever, the Rams helmet never matched the, LA color, the royal blue and the yellow jersey and game pants. They never did. But nobody ever cared enough. I didn't. It didn't bother me. And many fans will probably say the same. But it is nice to finally have those, uniform and helmet shell face mask to finally go together. So I'm a big fan of the helmet. It looks nice. I've seen some mock-ups of Instagram, artists, Twitter artists, other Reddit guys, doing mock-ups of the new uniforms on, the players. And some of them look pretty damn good. At least the home uniforms, I shall say. There was one of Cooper Kupp that I really liked that I saw in the home uniform, the royal blue jersey and the gold pants. That looked really nice. I seen one of Jared Goff in the alternate all blue uniform. That was a pretty good edit. I also saw some other ones of Taylor Rapp, Troy Hill, and I liked them. It looks better on the players. We got to, give that to the Rams. That when we see them on the field and on television, and if you're at the games in the stands, I think they'll look okay. I don't think you're going to complain about them too hard at that moment. Maybe the up close when you see the gradient numbers, which I'm not a fan of. I wish they would have been all solid. But I think other than that, I think they're going to look fine. And going to the bone color choice, that was pretty interesting. I really don't know where that necessarily came from. I think I might have possibly read somewhere that it was like the color of the ram's horn in real life. Okay, I get it. But my thing is that I've seen some other Rams insiders talk about is that they will not mix and match the different combos of possible uniforms. What I mean by that is they're going to stick to blue jersey, gold pants together, right? They're going to stick to all blue pants, blue jersey. And then they're also going to just solely stick to the all gray, bone gray pants and jersey. But they will change the socks going back and forth with the gray socks and the blue socks. Now, the all gray, some socks, pants, jersey, I am not that big on at all. That looks kind of With the blue socks, it helps. But my favorite away combo that I've seen some people edit together is bone jersey with the yellow home pants with blue socks. That looks nice because it's close to the away jersey or the away whole uniform combination that people like that, the Rams wore, in the 90s and back of the LA colors. Picture Kurt Warner and the guy, and the Kurt Warner and the boys in the 99 Super Bowl, what they wore. That away version of the royal blue and yellow. That's what that reminds me of, and that looks nice. Hopefully, since I know players are typically the ones that usually decide what to wear on game days, I hope they kind of hear the fans and hopefully see for themselves that looks nice and will wear that more than the all gray look. So, yeah, gray jersey, yellow pants, blue socks is a nice away uniform for us. And then my favorite out of the bunch is obviously the traditional yellow pants, blue jersey. It looks nice. That Cooper Kupp image sold me on that. It looked cool. It looked cool on that edit. So am I big on it? No. Are they okay? Yeah, they're okay. Wish the horns and the shoulder were bigger. I wish, they didn't have that soccer patch in the corner. I don't know who came up with that. That was interesting. I wouldn't have done that. But hopefully, hopefully in 4 or 5 years when the redesign is allowed, because that's what the NFL rule is, that once you change your brand or uniform, you have to wait 4 seasons to be able to do that again. Because it does protect the NFL and its partners and everybody in the manufacturing companies that are partnered with them and with the team and the league. To say, hey, we screwed up. We got to change our whole look next year. No. They got to give time, to these companies, to these partners to make the new gear and to not screw up their production where they've already made, let's just say, 100,000 Aaron Donald gray jerseys. And the next year they're like, yeah, we're bailing back to the old school, trash that. And then they don't sell, then it's a waste of product. So that's why that rule's in place. So maybe in 4 years, they either go back to the throwback, but then keep that royal blue, helmet shell. Who knows? We shall see. It's been 50-50. Many people hate it. And that traditionally has been, the fans closer to the 90s and 80s era and 70s and back who don't like it, who, want that traditional look, which I would have loved as well. All they needed to do, guys, in my opinion, was do this. Was to keep the throwback home uniform that we were wearing, just change the helmet shell to this royal blue metallic that we have to match the jersey. If they wanted to change the horns, fine. The horns don't bother me. That's all I needed to do was change that, make an away jersey of, the throwback, home one that we've been wearing. And then make a royal blue and yellow version of the color rush one we had, because that was a navy and yellow look. Just make those navy numbers, the navy stripe, to royal blue. And then keep that, so the all yellow, the away, and the royal blue throwback are all the same look, but just different colors. The patterns on the horns, everything's the same. It's just a different color scheme for the horns and then the jersey and the numbers itself. And then just make an all white version of that with royal blue numbers, and then we can still be able to change the face mask and the horns to white and let that be the throwback look that represents, the fearsome foursome era in the 60s. The all white look that I've always really liked too. That's all they needed to do. That's all they needed to do. So maybe in 4 years, they hear us on that and get that done. But as they did announce that there will be 2 more alternate, uniforms coming out within the next 3 seasons. So this season, they're going to stick to the ones they released. 2021, they're supposed to come out with something. 2022, they're supposed to come out with something. And I expect an all yellow look to come out and maybe a cool throwback. But I hear the NFL is looking to take back their one helmet rule, which has been up for a long time. So any of you guys that are fans of the throwback uniforms for other teams, and I know teams do it. There's a lot of teams that have cool ones. Denver has a cool one. Who else comes to mind? My goodness. The Chargers had one. Now that's kind of their look. And other teams that used to do it but kind of can't anymore. Simply because the helmet shell color is completely different now than what it used to be in the quote-unquote throwback uniforms the franchise used to wear. The NFL got rid of changing the helmet shells, so having multiple helmets. So that's why, guys, we were able to get away with, having 2 different looks, the throwback look and then the all-white look, because the helmet shell was never changing. All they would change was the decals, the horn, stickers on the helmet, and the face mask from, yellow horn or white and yellow horns, and then white face mask to the navy face mask. But the helmet shell would stay the same for each player. Back before, when you were seeing everybody do throwback, combinations, like the Tennessee Titans going back to the Houston Oilers look with like the baby blue helmet shell, or you would see the New England Patriots go back to the Patriot guy snapping the ball, the red and the white look with the white helmet shell and the white face mask. Or you'd see the Redskins change their helmet shell to the old school with like the spear, or other teams. There's plenty of teams that did it. The NFL got rid of that rule after the concussion stuff because they feared that having too many helmets and all of them not being properly tested, quote unquote, that it would be a problem. But they're thinking of getting rid of that rule because now helmets are pretty dang good. It's not like they used to be 10 years ago. All the helmets are pretty dang good for the most part. So they're looking to get rid of that rule. So who knows? Maybe we will get a true throwback uniform. That's my whole point here. Maybe to that 1960s look, fearsome foursome era, which I would love. But that's down the uniforms. Look, if we win, people are going to love them. If we lose, people are going to hate them even more. That's just how it is. Next thing I'm thinking of bringing up, because I've been looking at tickets. My goodness, they are expensive, huh? Now, it seems that Ticketmaster is okay because they're the official partner of the NFL. And if you guys are looking to go to games, the Rams home games, I would suggest you buying them through Ticketmaster because they are the partner that they can guarantee your money back due to games possibly being canceled by, the governor or even the mayor of LA saying, hey, fans cannot be there. So if you do get tickets, and because of that reason, Ticketmaster can refund you. Or if games are canceled, like the league cannot start at, say, week 1 through 4, the first month of September, then they can refund you for that. If the games are not moved to a later time, they can refund you for that. But I have not seen that from other places, StubHub, Vivid Seats. I have not seen that, statement be told to a buyer, online or on the phone where people, people still buy tickets on the phone. I have not seen that, but Ticketmaster has, declared that. So that is nice. So if you plan on going to any games, first off, I say go through Ticketmaster. Definitely go through Ticketmaster. But going back to the prices, let's just compare the Rams with the Chargers. My goodness, it's like a $200 difference. It's insane. And I kind of get why, because Chargers are fighting for fans here in LA. As I always said, one team was enough. I don't know why LA has to be, like New York in the sports world. We got to have two of everything. 2 basketball teams, 2 football teams, 2 hockey teams, 2 baseball teams. It's like, why can't we just have one? I get it. We're in a big, city/county. I get it. But we don't need, 2 of everything. Especially when Los Angeles, as a sports town, at least for the NFL world, is very, I won't even say 50-50 about, people being, loyal to the city and its, professional football team. No, I want to say maybe 15% of the people here in LA overall are loyal to the team's, pro football team. As many of my friends are not Rams fans. I'd say me and one more out of 25 of us. As we all grew up without a pro team here in LA. And most of them, kind of got sucked into whatever their parents like, their brothers like, or family member, whatever they like seeing on TV growing up. So the city does not have that grasp yet. So with the Chargers having tickets so low in the new stadium, I get why they're trying to, because they're competing with the Rams. But the Rams, to have them so high, look at celebrities are not coming and sitting on nosebleed seats for $300. They're not. They're going to get the suites. I get why those prices would be high, because you're trying to, get those guys to pay a ton for that specific spot for the game. But for the average person who is not rich and wealthy and then lives in Beverly Hills and in all the nice places you can think of out here in LA County or Orange County, people can't afford that. People cannot afford that for just one single ticket, 200 plus, 300 plus. It's a lot. Because you see the ticket for what it is. Let's just say it's 200, right? Then you click on it. Let's say it's you and your friend are going to the game. Click on that one, the seats that you want. And then you go into the checkout, and then you see the tax and service fee, and that's another $40, $50. You're like, and you're already there, so you're gonna pay it. But then some people might bail. I think a lot of people would bail on that. They'd be like, man, I don't have $375. They don't. People don't. So I wish that the Rams would make tickets a little bit cheaper, simply because, going back to my other point about about most people here in LA not being loyal to the city, pro football wise, which is understandable. There hasn't been a team here, or teams have come and go a bunch. Is that opposing fans do invade the Rams home games and the Chargers the worst out of the whole league, as Charger games have been notoriously bad about opposing fans coming in for the their home games in Carson the last couple seasons. Those people that will see their team once and this is their chance. So say the people that are big Dallas Cowboy fans for week 1, they will pay whatever to come see that team because they know most chances they will not see them. It'll be once every 4 years, maybe, depending on, the NFC's records and NFC, teams' records and where they stand in their division, north, south, east, or west. Or a playoff game, which might happen. But most people in California that are Cowboys fans, they're not going to Dallas. So when those big teams, or whatever team they are a fan of come to town, they will pay whatever. So those expensive tickets or those seats are no longer filled by Rams fans if they were more affordable. They're now filled by the fans of other teams that are willing to pay whatever to come see their team because they will only be here once in a blue moon. So I think the Rams need to learn from that after this season because obviously ticket prices are not going to change since most of them have been bought and most people are reselling them for a higher price. But I think for 2021 and beyond, I think they need to change that. They definitely need to change that to help out a majority of the fan base that is not rich. I know they went from St. Louis to here, and all of a sudden they think everybody's got money. No. Not everybody has whatever money you think we have. We all live fine. We all live good, but we don't have, $600 for just 2 tickets. We don't. And especially when you're trying to grow a fan base. This isn't the Lakers where you can just get away with charging ridiculous amounts when the team is crap. It's like, we're established. We are not established yet. We have not won a Super Bowl. We have not won enough playoff games. We have not won enough division titles yet. So to help out the Rams community, the fans, and your franchise, and the players for home field advantage, I suggest that prices go a bit down for the future. And that's that with that. But all right, to the franchise itself and what I think is going to happen for 2020. So first off, we got to talk about who was lost and who was added. So first, we'll go with who was lost. I'll name them off real fast. Todd Gurley, running back. Brandon Cooks, wide receiver. Corey Littleton, inside linebacker. Dante Fowler, outside linebacker. Nickel Roby-Coleman, cornerback. Eric Weddle, safety. Clay Matthews, outside linebacker. Bryce Hager, inside linebacker. Greg the Leg Zerline, the kicker. And then in the coaching staff, Coach Bones, John Fossil, was offered a big payday in Dallas with Mike McCarthy. So he took that and left. Wade Phillips was let go. And running backs coach Skip Peete was let go. Now, first off, I'll go with the coaching staff real fast. I get it. Coach Bones has been fantastic, a top 5 coordinator for special teams in this league for quite some time. Even in the Jeff Fisher days where things were not looking too good, he was the bright spot, I'd say a good 70% of the time with his trick plays and his execution with his players and coaching them up. So I'm sad to see him go, but you cannot hate the man for taking opportunity elsewhere for more money, for the betterment of his future, his family's future, his kids, and so forth. So good luck to him. I will miss him dearly. And we shall see him week 1. Coach Phillips, I was sad to see that go. I don't dislike the move by Sean McVay to let him go due to the amount of talent we had on this team for 2019 and how much that defensive unit was a letdown at key moments. There was times they played really excellent and the offense did not, but then there was times where the offense finally got going and the defense was kind of bad. So I guess I understand, and we'll get to the new hires right now. And then running back coach Skip Peete. I guess with Todd Gurley going, I guess you got to get rid of his number 1 fan. I had been to training camps and all that, and I do not know a ton about running back coach, former running back coach Skip Peete, but it seemed from Sean McVay's words, kind of, here and there that maybe his coaching style was no longer getting it done. And the things that were making Todd special was not necessarily Coach Peete, but it was just Todd himself. As Darrell Henderson did not seem as ready. Malcolm Brown is talented, so it was just his talent alone. But I don't think they were being taught anything, to further, let the players grow at the running back position for the LA Rams. So that's that. But the new coaches we got, starting off with a new running back coach, Thomas Brown. New special teams coordinator, John Bonamego. new defensive coordinator Brandon Staley, and then new offensive coordinator Kevin O'Connell. So we'll start off with special teams coordinator John. And he has actually been a top 5 coordinator in this league for quite some time at special teams, thankfully. So we lose Coach Bones, but we gain someone who is, a replacement that Rams fans everywhere should feel comfortable about. Most definitely. As he has been in the league coaching special teams for quite a while, as his resume is quite large, even dating back to college and even in high school. So he's been coaching for many, many years. He is 56 years old. He's a young 56. As he has been in the NFL since, my goodness, since the Jacksonville Jaguars were created, it seems like, back in the late 90s. As he was an assistant special teams coach, became a coordinator later. He was the coordinators for also Jacksonville, Green Bay, New Orleans a couple times, back and forth, Miami in between, back to Jacksonville, and then most recently Detroit. And then he was the head coach at his alma mater, Central Michigan, for 3 seasons before he was let go there, and then came back to Detroit and got them back up to the top 5 special teams unit. So he's done well. In Jacksonville, they were top 5 in his time, in his many, many years there. And in Detroit, they've been top 5, as he has, led the punters in both those franchises to franchise punting records with both Jacksonville and Detroit. So he comes with a lot of experience. He's been coaching since the late 80s. And he's been a consistent top 5 to top 10 special teams coordinator since he's been in the NFL. And last year he was voted NFC North Special Teams Coach of the Year. So he knows what he's doing, guys. And it's, like I said, it's a comfortable replacement for Coach Bones. And everyone in Rams Nation should feel okay about that. Now we're going to defensive coordinator Brandon Staley. Staley's a young guy. So Coach McVay was looking for young coordinators. Obviously, then Coach special teams coordinator Coach John, he's 56, but Coach Staley is 37, and Kevin O'Connell, offensive coordinator, he's 34. But we'll get to Kevin after this. Coach Staley, again 37, has been in the league for not that long. He's only been in the league since Vic Fangio hired him back in 2017 to be the outside linebackers coach. And for those who don't know or forget or are not sure what defense we run a 3-4 defense. And what that means is the first number, the 3, means 3 defensive linemen. And the second number, 4, means 4 linebackers. Now, the way traditionally a 3-4 defense looks on the field is that you have the 3 D linemen. So the middle D lineman is the nose tackle, and the 2 outer D linemen are technically defensive ends. That's what they're called in this 3-4 scheme. And then the 2 outside linebackers in the 4 are walked up, and they are standing next to those D tackle D ends on the line of scrimmage, with the 2 inside backers playing their normal spot you see on the football field. So Coach Staley coached that outside linebacker position with Vic Fangio and his incredible defense that they had for 2 years in Chicago. And then when Vic Fangio took the job in Denver this past season, he followed him there as well. As most head coaches like to get the guys that they are comfortable with, they know will execute their vision and their scheme. So Coach Staley followed him to Denver, which they also had a good defense. So Coach Staley has coached Khalil Mack. He has coached Leonard Floyd, who is now with us. He has coached Von Miller. And he has coached Bradley Chubb when he would be an outside backer in certain situations for the Denver Broncos. And the outside linebackers, guys, in the 3-4 scheme is extremely important. As you've seen with Robert Quinn with us, as you have seen with Dante Fowler the past couple years, Clay Matthews, Samson Ibukam, as you've seen with a lot of guys for us. Extremely important. They're basically, a defensive end realistically, but they're not a true defensive end, say like a JJ Watt. They usually don't have their hand in the dirt, in a 3-point stance, usually standing up in a 2-point, like more in a runner stance-ish. And they're extremely important, at least, in this 3-4 scheme. So he's done a good job coaching that. And now he is taking what he's learned from Vic Fangio, who kicked our ass in the 2018 matchup against them in Chicago. If you remember that cold game where Goff and Trubisky threw, it seems like maybe 5 or 6 total interceptions between each other. And Vic Fangio's defenses are good. So he takes that scheme and he's going to implement it with us. So it should not be too big of a leap to learn his terminology. Will it be different than Coach Phillips? Yes, the words most likely will be different. But will the schematics of, what you want to do be the same? It will most likely. But the problem with Coach Phillips and why I think he was let go, even though Sean really did not elaborate at all, as Sean tends not to do, to respect coaches, players, anyone who is no longer with the organization. It seems to me when I've seen games, when I've seen some film, is that Coach Phillips gets caught up in 4 coverages and that's it. Not too many stunts either, or blitzes. He gets caught up in a lot of man, which every team runs, cover 1. A lot of cover 2, meaning two people are covering deep. That's what the 2 stands for. Cover 3, which means 3 people are covering deep. And then cover 6, which is kind of a variation. Some people have. These are all zone coverages, by the way, other than cover 1. But that was it. And he would never blitz, really. He would. I mean, let's not get that wrong. Let's not act like he didn't blitz. But there was not enough exotic stunts I thought that should have been used for Aaron Donald and crew. As they did do them, but they should have been way more. And I feel like since Sean, saw the exoticness of Vic Fangio's style of 3-4 defense, because they ran a ton of stuff against us. A lot of bluffs, meaning they line up like they're gonna run, let's say, cover 2, but they're actually gonna jump to cover 3 once the ball is snapped. And they also ran a bunch of different fronts, meaning that the linebackers and D linemen were, lined up in different spots within the box. The box being that close area to the linemen. They lined up in different spots, which would throw off offensive linemen, on who to block, where to block, and how to block. As you can always see linemen communicating that before the play has begun or has been snapped. And let's not forget, guys, Brandon Staley is coming from one of the best defensive coordinators the last 10 plus years with Vic Fangio. I just want to reiterate that he is coming, Brandon Staley, he is coming from someone who has done a damn good job with multiple defenses the last 10 years. Most notably, his time at, up north in the Bay with the 49ers. Done a damn good job with them, with Harbaugh's era. And let's even go back in time a little bit more, when he was with Baltimore in 2006 up to 2010, where he was coaching linebackers and obviously coached the great Ray Lewis. But let's go back even more. He coached the Texans when they were first, created. He also coached the Carolina Panthers when they were first created and led them to multiple playoff appearances and NFC championships. Appearances, I should say. And then, let's go back even further, when he first began his NFL career, where he coached the Dome Patrol back in New Orleans, if you remember that defense in the late 80s, early 90s, as he was the linebacker coach for all those great players. If you guys watched football back then and remember those guys, look them up if you don't know who they are. Pretty crazy. They were pretty dang good. So then he goes to Stanford with Harbaugh, and then obviously to the Niners, where he coached the teams that were in the NFC Championship every year. It seemed like while Harbaugh was there. And then obviously after Harbaugh's time in San Fran was done, he gets the defensive coordinator job in Chicago in 2015 and was there all the way up until 2018. And then when the defense he took over was 32nd ranked, I think, when he joined in the 2015 season, he got them to be a top 10 defense in multiple years after that, including number 1 overall in 2018 when they were killer and they kicked our ass. So look that's where Brandon Staley has been with the last 3 years. I expect Brandon Staley to come out and to bring to the table all those things he learned under Coach Fangio, which is exciting. It should be exciting for Rams fans everywhere, as there will be multiple looks, multiple things that should be the same, but also should be different, which will help out this defense and, stress out our offensive opponents on game day, which is good. We do have the players to get it done. And as Brandon has talked very highly of Donald, of course, has talked very highly of Jalen Ramsey, also stating that Ramsey could possibly even play safety in some situations if needed, as he is that talented. Hey, I'm cool with whatever. We have the players, figure it out. That's the coordinator's job, right? We have the players, put them in the best situations to win and to succeed. And I think we'll get that with Coach Staley, with our star players. So now moving on to our new offensive coordinator, coming from Washington, Coach Kevin O'Connell. A young guy as well, as he is 34 years old, and he spent the last 3 seasons with the Washington Redskins. But let's go back. What was he doing before that? So in 2015, his first NFL coaching job, he was the quarterbacks coach, as he was the quarterbacks in charge of Josh McCown, who was the starter for a majority of that season, and then Johnny Manziel in his last, roundabout with Cleveland. As I do not put what happened to Johnny on Coach Kevin O'Connell, because he was fooling around partying, before games. Not before the game, but, the days before, goofing off and not, being in the playbook and studying like you should be if you're going to be a first-round pick. So that is not on Coach O'Connell what happened to Manziel. He was a lost cause. But he did a good job with Josh McCown, as he played well with that Browns team that was heavily depleted of talent. And then he goes to San Francisco in 2016 with Chip Kelly, as he was an offensive assistant. So he learned a little bit of the spread, where the spread offense was, starting to make its way here in the NFL. That was kind of that time frame around there. And after Chip Kelly is let go, obviously he was let go, as the coaching staffs of any head coach usually are let go as well. That's the unfortunate part. And in 2017, that's when he went to Washington, where he became the quarterbacks coach for the Redskins. And then in 2018, he was elevated to passing game coordinator, along with still being the quarterbacks coach. And then after Jay Gruden was fired 5 games into this last season in 2019, he was given the keys to call plays. And then he was still the quarterbacks coach, which, what a big difference that was, by the way. Under Jay Gruden, the offense looked old school. It wasn't really fun to watch. There was nothing really special going on schematically. It was very old school Madden playbook junk from what, I saw. And when O'Connell took over, man, did things open up and things get creative, and the Redskins started putting up big points on people with Dwayne Haskins. It was very nice to see. Multiple formations, multiple routes and plays that kind of feed off each other, meaning I run this play, and then I'll run a play that looks very similar, which will set you up, because as a defender, you're thinking, hey, it's going to be, let's say, this specific run play. You bite on it, now it's a play action, and so forth, so forth, so forth. So he did a good job, and they put up a lot of points as he was the play caller. He just needed an opportunity, obviously, as Jay Gruden was not, running the Redskins up to optimal performance, as we have seen. as we have seen with Sean McVay being there, being the offensive coordinator and calling plays and putting, up big numbers and setting NFL records for most, most amount of players with at least 500 total yards. He did that. Sean McVay did that with his time with Kirk Cousins as the quarterback and the offensive players. That was, second all time in league history. So the Redskins have a way of holding back play calling talent, I guess. And I guess Sean McVay recognized that. And he said, hey, I got to get that guy over here. And what do I think Coach O'Connell's going to bring? As he will not be the play caller for us, as, of course, Sean McVay will continue to do that. But I think what will happen is that, their two brains will come together, at the chalkboard, right? And they will come up with ways to be better than last year. Because this is what happened with the Rams offensively last year. We got away with running 11 personnel. 11 personnel being 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, and 1 running back. That is the group. You can run different formations. Obviously, you can run a spread of that. You could run a bunch, trios, doubles, all these different things, of course, out of that personnel group. But that seemed like that was the only personnel group we ran. And we got away with it in 2017 in Sean's first year because we were pretty dang good and it was new. We got away with it in 2018 because our O-line was good and our receivers were pretty dang good and we can do whatever the hell we wanted. The talent was so much better overall as an offensive unit that you could get away with that all the time. And we did. It took us to a Super Bowl. But with a couple years of your offensive tendencies being out there and, coaching staffs getting embarrassed, defensive coaching staffs getting embarrassed by you for a couple years straight, teams dive in deep to try to figure out how the hell to stop you. And unfortunately, Vic Fangio's defense with the Bears in 2018 in that very cold game, if Rams fans remember that, he kind of exposed of how to slow down this offense and almost completely shut it down. And then, of course, the greatest coach of all time, Bill Belichick. If you disagree with that, you're crazy. He also saw that blueprint and he implemented that in the Super Bowl. So obviously, Chicago's Bears defense was number 1 overall and the Patriots defense was a top 5 unit. So obviously, you have to have the players. But the blueprint was out there. And teams are talented and teams will always get better. So teams did get better and teams started to implement that game plan on us. But we still tried to run that 11 personnel, 90% of the time. And it just wasn't working. And I was calling out to friends, to family, to, football friends that I was like, dude, we're just way too one-dimensional offensively. It was kind of predictable. A skinny post, play action to a skinny post, play action to a comeback, zone right, zone left in the run, maybe a couple traps. But it was all out of the same personnel grouping, which you can only do so much. And it wasn't until, losses started to pile on, and it wasn't really until that Chicago Bears Sunday night game here in LA this past season, 2019, that I finally started to see some variation. I finally started to see, the I formation. Gosh, I don't think we've ever ever ran that with Sean McVay up until that point. The fullback, 1 tight end, 2 tight end sets with 1 receiver. I started to see double tight end sets with Higbee and Everett on the field at the same time, lining up the tight end spots. I saw the jumbo package or jumbo personnel, which is 3 tight ends, 1 running back, 1 receiver. I saw a bunch of different stuff that I had not seen before from Sean McVay. As if the casual fan like me is clamoring for it, obviously Sean is a brilliant young man and a brilliant play caller, as he has been. As he knew, we needed to adapt. And I think with this Kevin O'Connell, I think he realizes that. And Kevin ran a bunch of different formations and personnel groupings as he was calling plays for the Redskins in 2019. And we do have the players to do it. We have 3 tight ends, 4 tight ends now. We have 4 legit receivers again. We have 3 running backs. There's a lot we could do. We have the group, and they're all talented enough to learn it, to do it. And I think that's what Kevin O'Connell will bring to the Rams. Obviously not play calling itself, but the information and his philosophy to mess with Sean's so they can come together and create something new, which you have to in this league, at least offensively. Defense is a read and react and obviously calling right plays in right situations, but offensively, you need to keep adapting and evolving yourself because teams will catch on and that will be it. As my neighbors are extremely loud, as this room is soundproofed or sound treated, I should say, but they're blasting next door. So if you hear that, don't worry. It's all right. They're having a good time. Boy. But getting back to football, that's what I think Coach O'Connell will do. And I'm excited about that, as that was one of the reasons why we had lost so many games, in my opinion, or one of the reasons. That is what I think about that. Okay, so those are the good additions, right? Let's go back to the players that we lost and what I think about that. Now, coming from a Rams fan perspective, and I usually do not have a biased opinion on things. Letting go of Corey Littleton and letting go of Dante Fowler were huge mistakes. Huge. Especially with them not even signing any big contracts with the Las Vegas Raiders for Littleton. And then for the Atlanta Falcons with Dante Fowler. They did not sign that big of a deal. There was nothing record-breaking or out of the budget for the LA Rams. I thought they were the two that were most important to re-sign. And Whitworth. They could have gone all three of them. All three of them could have been brought back. As Corey Littleton's deal was for $36 million over 3 years. So it was only $12 million per year. And Dante's being obviously a little bit more, $48 million per year over a 3-year time span. With that being, $16 million per year. But that was in the Rams' budget. They could have signed them. And Whitworth included with that list. And I get Nickel Roby. So, okay, we're going to let go of Corey Littleton and Dante, but then not keep Nickel Roby for $6 million for this next year. And not keep Clay Matthews for $5 million. But no, we're going to let go of everybody. And we're going to, I'm happy Brockers is back, at least. The A'Shawn Robinson signing, I like. But my goodness, they were so important, especially, that inside linebacker spot. Because right now, guys, there is not really anybody of stature or of high, playing experience in those inside backer spots. There is not. I know Micah Kaiser was supposed to be, the subsequential starter next to Corey before he tore, ligaments in the preseason this past year. And maybe I would feel better. Maybe we would have been a better team if he was a starter. Who knows? I don't know. But that's the question. We just don't know. And then Troy Reader coming in, Trayvon Howard and others. I just don't know. That is 100% the weakest link and the most unknown position group that we have on this Rams roster. And I think Corey, who, should have been a Pro Bowler, but we all know the Pro Bowl is a fan vote. Pretty basically, that's what it is. And not just a fan vote for your team, or it's just, a popularity contest. That's the Pro Bowl now. And that's why professionals in the NFL, they pay attention to the first, second, and third team in the rookie, all-pro teams. As those, those lists and those all-star groups are more of a, rewarding feeling for players, as many, former Hall of Fame players and many current players have stated. Making it to the Pro Bowl is cool. If you get in, you get in. Great. Why would you complain? But it's clear that All-Star game now is, a popularity contest. Whoever is the most popular, and obviously you have to have a good season. That's how you get popular. Duh. But if you're, an unknown name like Corey, on the broader scale of the National Football League, then a lot of people don't know you. They might see number 58 making plays, but, he's not talked about on all the networks and all that stuff. But he, in my eyes, was a top 5 linebacker, inside linebacker, simply because he was a good tackling machine. and he was fast, and he could cover. And he was a good inside linebacker in deep coverage as well, which is tough to do. Not just little zone, cover 2 zone where he just controls that little, his little area where he's standing. No, he would drop deep in that Tampa 2 style coverage where the linebacker drops way back with the safeties. He did that when he was asked to, and did a pretty good job. And I think that's ultra valuable because he would never leave the field. He was a 4-down linebacker, not even a 3-down, as he was good at blocking punts. Really good. So I think with his deal being very cheap, $12 million, he should have been brought back, and I am upset about that. As the Raiders, with all their cap space, they paid, pretty much nothing for a Pro Bowl level inside linebacker in his prime. So I'm upset about that. But obviously, the Rams front office and Coach McVay and everybody, they felt that the group that we have could get the job done. Okay, have I evaluated every single player and seen the potential? No, I have not. I am not part of the Rams coaching staff, and I do not know these things. But obviously, that's how they feel, and we shall see. But that still doesn't make me feel better about the moves, especially Nikel being let go for nothing when he could have been kept. Dante Fowler being ultra important when he could have been kept. And Corey Littleton, number 1 on my list. That should have been kept. But I am happy about Whitworth coming back. Let's not get that confused. He's the anchor on the left side. But Corey was my number 1 player that should have been brought back. For sure. And it's sad to see him go, and I wish him well. Wish all the players that have left the Rams the best. But, okay. I think it's a good time to go through the starting, unit for both sides of the ball who I think is going to be out there, week 1 and so forth. So we'll go, speaking of defense, we'll go to defense first. Starting with outside linebacker in the 3-4 defense, Leonard Floyd. And the other outside linebacker, Samson Ebukam, who is now no longer a rotational player, as he is expected to be the starter and the guy at an outside linebacker spot, as he was always the rotational player that would come in for Dante and or Clay Matthews. And he did see significant playing time since he's been with the Rams, every year getting more and more and more. So obviously we feel that, as an organization, as a coaching staff, that he is ready. And I am not disappointed by Clay Matthews being gone, because I feel like Samson now will get an opportunity to shine, as he has always been in the 4 to 3, 4, 5 sack range as a backup. So we shall see what he does as a full-time starter. So I'm comfortable with him being a starter. Leonard Floyd, the thing is that he signed a 1-year deal for $10 million, and Samson Ebukam as well this is his last year on his rookie deal. So after 2020, both these guys will be free agents. So one guy's gonna for sure most likely stay, and the other is not. And with Leonard Floyd, he was let go from Chicago. Unfortunately, that is why he ended up here. And Brandon Staley coached him with his couple seasons in Chicago as the outside linebacker coach there. So he's seen enough and he likes enough of what he saw from Floyd to tell the Rams, hey, go get that guy. And Leonard Floyd does do a lot of things well. He for sure is a good run stopper, no doubt. He actually drops into coverage very well from that outside linebacker spot, which I've seen on film, which is good. As Dante Fowler was more of a pure pass rusher, more than a run stopper or a person who would drop into coverage. That would be the last thing he would do. As that did not happen a lot. Dante's best abilities were to get to the quarterback, as he had 10+ sacks. But Leonard Floyd has never eclipsed that. That is my concern, is that outside of Donald, we have a lot of run-stopping guys. But who's going to get at the quarterback outside of Aaron Donald? I do not know. As Corey was good at blitzing, Littleton. Dante obviously getting to the quarterback. Clay Matthews got to the quarterback quite a lot before he broke his jaw last year. And then Samson was decent as a backup. But that brings us to the wild card of the outside linebacker group, the rookie from Alabama, Terrell Lewis. As he was a starter and a rotational player, as Bama, as many of you know, has some of the most ridiculous, group of talent at any school of the country, as they have 5-star recruits, the top, high school football players come there every year for the last 10 years at least. So other players do see the field because of garbage time, because they're kicking people's asses so bad. But for Terrell Lewis, he did miss a majority of the 2017 season with an injury, and he missed all of 2018 with the torn ACL. So there has not been an extreme amount of film on him. But before he started to get a tad bit injured in this past year, my goodness, does that guy stand out? I mean, stand out. Like, he's a giant on the football field, and a giant that is ultra athletic. As that outside linebacker spot that I've talked about before on, our 3-4 defense, which Alabama does run too. They run a 3-4 defense, and that is what he played. My goodness, he just gets to the quarterback in a blink of an eye. And he overpowers, SEC offensive linemen when he is healthy. And when he was not healthy, you could see that the explosiveness and those, extreme qualities that he had, do dissipate. Because, yes, he is playing injured. So there is some game film out there, guys, of this past season where he does not look the same. But when he is fully healthy, my goodness, he's kicking offensive line's asses. And ultra fast. He's got quick lateral movements. He's big and long. He's like 6'5". I mean, most linemen aren't even that tall, And if he is able to stay healthy and is able to contribute early, then for sure he will be the starting outside linebacker, for 2021 and going on, no doubt. As I have stated, that Samson Ebukam and Leonard Floyd both have expiring contracts after this 2020 season. So the Rams are only going to choose one of them because they, would not have drafted Terrell Lewis if they thought that they could keep both of them. Unless, they give us some extreme discount, then obviously we'll sign them both again. But Terrell Lewis was a first-round projected talent, but the injuries is what made him fall. He would, if he, had stayed healthy his college career and had balled out like, he did when he was on the field, he for sure would probably have been gone in the first round of this draft, no doubt. As many, analyst teams have came out and said, or, have revealed their draft boards for fun and have had Terrell Lewis in the top, 32 of overall players in the 2020 draft. So that is a steal in the third round for the LA Rams, no doubt. But it'll only pay off if he is able to stay healthy and contribute, which I think he could do, as he will be, in this professional environment with professional trainers, professional, health team doctors, which the Rams do have some of the best in the NFL, as many players that have came through this place have stated. So it's up to him to, to put in the work and to do what he needs to do to, stay as healthy as possible. I know injuries happen, and injuries can be just as random as, a car crash and, driving in the streets. But, being ultra prepared, your body physically prepared for the NFL, banging that, he's going to take colliding with offensive linemen and running backs and, offensive players, then he should be okay because the talent is there. And my goodness. And this was for sure a Brandon Staley pick, as he was an outside linebacker coach, as I said before. So he for sure probably said, if this guy's available, as, he was falling, Brandon Staley got on that Zoom and made sure to tell Les Snead and Sean, go get this guy, please. As Brandon Staley was an outside linebacker coach. And I think pretty sure he knows what he's doing, as he's coached some of the best in the league. So we shall see with him. And I expect him to rotate in with the other outside linebacker, Obo, who did play well, as too, when he was rotating in. So we shall see what happens with that group. So those are the two outside linebackers in this 3-4 scheme. And then the 3 linemen, 3D linemen. Obviously, Aaron Donald, All-World. Michael Brockers, welcome back. Glad to have you. And then the newcomer, Ashawn Robinson from Detroit, who will, I assume, will play the nose tackle spot, as he is the most bulky out of the D lineman group, which I think fits better, as Brockers, was presumably gone going to the Ravens, and that seemed like a done deal. We signed Ashawn, and in that response of losing Brockers for him to fill that role and play that other D tackle DN spot. But now, since Brockers has been re-signed, I think that this little trio could be pretty dang good, at least in the run stopping and just kind of overall, as Donald is the all-world talent run and pass rushing. I think this unit could be extremely, overlooked, undervalued by the opponents until obviously games are played. As this unit could be the best 3D tackle, group, starting 3-4 group in the entire league. It's very possible that ends up being the case. And it's also not, as the league is very unpredictable and things happen. But Ashawn at nose, Donald and Brockers at the end, D tackle DN spots. It's a great group. As in a 3-4 scheme, you want that nose tackle that's, the guy that's lined up, head up with the center, looking each other in the face directly, nose to nose. You want that guy to be a big body to clog up and screw up the assigned blocking. Because if you blow things up, blowing up meaning, destroy the offensive lineman in front of you from the inside out, offenses fall apart. And especially in a 3-4 scheme that works and you got 99 next to you. As Ashawn did a really good job run stopping in Detroit, and he was let go not because of a talent problem, but just a money thing. It was a money thing with Detroit. So that is why he ended up with us. So I like that. I like that 3 as the starters in this 3-4 scheme, as they will obviously all not be on the field at the same time a bunch. As the 3-4, our base defense is 3-4 will obviously be more for run stopping, and as a defense that you start on and then you expand from it, to get into other packages, nickels, more corners and safeties on the field, obviously. But I feel them 3 plus now Sebastian can't even say his name right now. Sebastian Joseph Day. Was a little tongue twister. He played well at the nose spot. As he was more of a smaller frame, kind of more speed guy for a nose tackle, he now becomes a backup, but he will play significantly as he will rotate in, along with Morgan Fox, the D tackle coming back, and then the local La Habra guy. For all you LA dudes and Orange County people out here who know that high school. He is a rotational player. I like that. I like that group a lot. That is probably the strongest group, along with the receiving core for the LA Rams, as the 2 best, with the most depth and the most, possible production out of one position group. So I like that a lot. Now moving on to the inside linebackers in this 3-4. Micah Kaiser, I assume, will be a starter, as he was penciled in to be one last year. Like I said before, he tore stuff in his shoulder and had to miss the year. And then Troy Reeder, I expect to possibly be out there week 1 as the other base inside linebacker. Now, like I said before, they are very inexperienced. A lot of them have seen some playing time. Troy has gotten into some garbage time. Micah has, in previous years in garbage time, but none of them have ever started and contributed to an outcome of a win in a game. So we shall see. And this group is not particularly big in stature either, and they are not particularly, I've not seen anything good or spectacular in their pass coverage ability. But I hope I am surprised. I really hope I am, as they will probably be a deciding factor in the fate of this football team, along with the offensive line. For sure. Because teams will always find your weakness and try to expose the heck out of it. As they will for sure be the weakest link going into the season, no doubt. Until they prove otherwise. Which is possible, but I don't know right now. That is an unknown. Now moving on to the secondary. Jalen Ramsey. Mr. All-World. We don't need to go into too much detail on him. Come on, guys. Jalen Ramsey. Troy Hill, I expect to be the other starter, as he played extremely well after he was teamed up with Jalen, after Marcus and Aqib Talib were traded, at the midway points of the season. And my goodness, I have to say that he played pretty dang good. And especially after a 2018 season when he was thrusted into a starting role, when Marcus was hurt or Aqib Talib, he played pretty bad. Let's just call it what it is. He was getting burnt a lot. Him and Sam Shields, when we had him in 2018. They were getting, they were the ones getting picked on, and they got picked on a lot. And it wasn't for no reason. They were getting burnt. But I guess it's the Ramsey effect, just like this is the Aaron Donald effect, that he played well. And especially, when opposing quarterbacks see number 20, you're like, man, I ain't throwing that way. Okay, who is that? Who is that right there? Oh, 22, Troy Hill. Okay, we'll throw that way. And he got picked on, but he didn't let anything up. He didn't let anything up, which was a really, really, really nice thing to see. So I hope that continues. So I expect him to be the starter at that other outside corner spot. And then moving on to the nickel, which we do run a lot of the nickel package in case, for those of you who don't know what I am talking about. Just like on offense, there's that, like I say, the 11 personnel, the jumbo package. The nickel package is where you will usually take out a D tackle or a linebacker, just depending on, what the defensive coordinator feels is best. So presumably, I would say, let's just say Sean Robinson gets taken out in more pass heavy situations. So then we'll put in an extra corner and or safety. And I expect Terrell Burgess to fight and earn that starting job at that nickel corner that Nickel Roby-Coleman played so dang good at. And speaking of that, he was a top 5 slot corner for the last 2-3 seasons. So I'm also very saddened, as he is a local LA guy, to see him go. But I expect Terrell Burgess to step in there and get that. The rookie from Utah, who Eric Weddle was super high on, as Eric Weddle was a Utah guy here in the Pac-12 before going to the then San Diego Chargers and having a nice career. So I expect Terrell Burgess, possibly David Long, the 3rd round pick from Michigan last year, to fight for that spot, as he was very good at man coverage at Michigan, why he was drafted in that 3rd round, as he did see some playing time towards the end of the year, with Troy Hill being hurt in a couple games. So I do expect Terrell Burgess to earn that spot, as he was used in a variety of different ways at Utah, which was a great unit, who almost went to the Rose Bowl, by the way, because of that defense, for sure. He lined up at strong safety, free safety. He played a lot in that slot nickel, corner. He did play some outside corner when he needed to, or when he was asked to, I should say. And then he also played single high, where kind of like Earl Thomas and Ed Reed in their prime, they would just be like, all right, everybody's loading up to the line of scrimmage. Ed, Earl, you got this whole back end right here. Take care of it. He was asked to do that, Terrell Burgess, and he did that. And it was pretty good at that too. So I expect him to have some starting role in some form or another on the secondary when we do go to those nickel and or dime packages, which is another corner on the field, and or safety. Now, going to the safeties, who I expect to be out there in this base package, is obviously John Johnson. At free safety, I think he should be at, which would be a nice fit. And we missed him heavily, as he tore his shoulder against the Niners in the first game here in LA, around week 5, I say, if my memory serves me correctly. And him at free safety seems to fit his skill set better, as he is a good tackler. He is an all-around really damn good safety and another Pro Bowl level talent, as he most likely should have made that list in the 2018 season when we went to the Super Bowl, as he had stats better than the guys who made the Pro Bowl. But like I said, the Pro Bowl is now just a popularity contest, and teams and fans just kind of, let that be. So I expect him to be the free safety to roam around, as he is more of a coverage guy, but who is a hitter and who is a playmaker, as he has many interceptions when he is on the field. And I expect Taylor Rapp to be the strong safety. The strong safety. And then look at guys. The free and the strong, can they be interchangeable? Can Taylor be a free? Can John be a strong? Yeah. It just depends on the matchup, who you're playing. Whatever suits us best to have the best chance to stop an opposing offense. It could be interchangeable for them, but just in the base, I can see Taylor being the strong simply because he is good at, being lined up near the box, in the box, meaning the box, for those of you who don't know, is that front 7 kind of area from inside linebackers all the way to the outside linebackers and the D linemen. That's considered the box. He was good at lining up close to the box and even in the box to help stop the run, as he was the dime linebacker a ton this last year. So he was in this dime package. We would take out that traditional linebacker, inside linebacker, and we would put Taylor Rapp as a dime linebacker. So a guy who was good in the run game, who could still, lower his shoulder and bring the boom and clog holes, but could also run with tight ends and cover them. Could also run with running backs and cover them. So I expect Taylor to be the strong, and obviously I 110% expect him to continue that role in obvious passing situations for him to be the dime linebacker, which will help out that linebacking core. And then the good old Johnny Hekker, Mr. Do-It-All at punter. Love that guy. I love that he can throw. I mean, let's be real, guys. Other punters that can throw, yeah, but this guy throws like an NFL quarterback. Look up his highlights and all his throws. They're pretty dang good throws. Really good. I think there was one game in, I want to say 2018, where we ran a fake punt pass against the Eagles, and it was not like a little, it was 4th and 2, and we ran a little 5-yard out, and he completed that, which he does do. And it's on target, in the chest, in the hands. There was one where Josh Reynolds was the gunner, the guy that's lined up like a receiver in the punt formation, and he's the one that's, gunning down to go get the punt returner and tackle him immediately. So Josh Reynolds was lined up at that position, the receiver gunner, and we threw a bomb. And if Josh Reynolds would have gotten his head around like 1 second sooner, that would have been like a 50-yard touchdown, as it legit like clipped his helmet almost, the pass. It was perfect, but he just didn't get his head around in enough time. I don't know if maybe the stadium lights blinded him or something, but Johnny Hekker could throw, and throw with accuracy. It was really crazy. I was at that game. I was like, this is going to be a touchdown right now, as the ball was hanging in the air. And then obviously we've seen him run. We've seen him pass, short, intermediate. And teams piss their pants a little bit once they see him, go from his punting, stance, and then he runs real quick to get close, like in the quarterback area, to take the ball, take the snap. Opposing teams, go, crap, which is great. I love it. And on top of that, the guy booms kicks is in the top 5 punter in punt average every year. On top of that, it's fantastic to have him. As Coach John, our new special teams coordinator, said, 110% we will continue to run fakes. Why will we not? It'd be crazy not to. So thank you, Coach, for, continuing this, as Johnny Hekker is a weapon on the offense and defense, punting the ball. So I'm glad to have him back and to have him as my punter for the future. Now, going to the offense, we shall talk about all the rookies, but we'll go by position by position. So Jared Goff comes back, no doubt. Franchise quarterback. Come on, people. And we'll get to some of his woes and other film breakdowns and things, but that was more of a product of bad O-line play. As, when you don't have time and a bunch of other things, you're not going to look as great as you did years past. That's just obvious. So Jared Goff comes back. I expect big things from him this year. At running back, we have the rookie Cam Akers being drafted as the first draft pick in the 2020, college lottery slash gamble. That is what the NFL draft is. It is, a lottery slash, a gamble, because you're taking players who you really don't know will succeed. That is the gamble of it, as he was a high second round pick for the LA Rams. And breaking down his film, as I was a fan of his coming out, I thought, I would have liked to have gone Jonathan Taylor, but I kind of had a feeling he would be gone, by the Rams, pick in the 50s in that second round this year. People thought J.K. Dobbins should have been the pick, the Ohio State running back who had 2,000 yards rushing as well, just like Jonathan Taylor. But as you should, look up highlights of Cam Akers, and he's just as explosive. He's just as good as J.K. Dobbins and Jonathan Taylor. But the major difference is that Jonathan Taylor and J.K. Dobbins played behind, some of the best O-line units in the entire country and in the Power 5. And for those of you who don't know what the Power 5 is, when I'm referring to college football, it is the Pac-12 conference, it is the Big Ten conference, the Big 12, the SEC, and the ACC. Those are regarded in Division 1A college football as the Power 5, the best football conferences that the world has to offer. And obviously there's one, double A, and there's the FCS, and there's other programs, other conferences that we could think of. And go on and on. There's plenty of college football out there. But this is the Power 5. So Jonathan Taylor and J.K. Dobbins ran behind, top 10 overall units at their schools. Then they balled out. No doubt, with both 2,000 yards rushing. J.K. Dobbins setting a school record with his 2,000-yard rushing effort. And, Jonathan Taylor having another 2,000-yard rushing season and, getting into the top 6 all-time in college football history. But I bring those up, those situations up. Why? Because Cam Akers ran behind a bottom 5 offensive line in the Power 5 for all his years at Florida State. And he still balled out. So when I say bottom 5 in the Power 5 conferences, guys, that is bottom 5 out of like 40 schools in Division 1A. That is bottom 5 all his years. He wasn't running with an average group. He wasn't running with a top 10 like Taylor and Dobbins. He's running behind crap. Let's just keep it real. And he still balled out. And he was one of 3 running backs ever in the history of Florida State to ever have multiple 1,000-yard seasons. And he did it with a crappy O-line. As Dalvin Cook, the other guy who had that, incredible mark in Florida State, he had pretty good, solid O-lines. A lot of those linemen were drafted and have, become starters or have, had NFL careers, or who do have NFL careers right now. As I don't think any lineman from Florida State right now will be drafted or has been drafted unless they improve. But that is what he was working with. So just like many other, position groups, it's hard to tell how good a running back is, because we see those 2,000-yard rushing season. You think, my God, look at Taylor, look at Dobbins, look at those guys. But because of a lot of their blocking lanes and holes that they run through were kind of wide open, and they do have the talent to make, to hit those, to the house, those runs when they are wide open. Of course, you better, Cam Akers was making people miss, running people over, and not just doing it in the open field. He was doing it at the line of scrimmage like seconds after he got the ball in his hands on a handoff. It wasn't like he got through and now he's got to make a linebacker miss, 5 yards after, past the line of scrimmage. No, he's doing that in the hole as he is getting the ball. So you're taking the ball from the quarterback in the run game, and immediately there's linebackers and D linemen in your face. Almost immediately. And he's making those people miss, and he's running them over and juking them out, and even in the open field. As the linemen would miss. They would block everything up perfectly except maybe a linebacker that they were supposed to get. And Cam looks like he's going to get tackled, and it's only going to be a 3-yard gain. He makes that guy miss, and then it's a touchdown. So it's very different than from Taylor and Dobbins, who did show they can make people miss. Let's not get it wrong. But Cam Akers had to do that every week as the enemy's focal point of who to stop. So if we were playing Florida State in these past 3 years, we would say, who was the best player on offense? It was for sure 100% Cam Akers. 100%. And you know what? They did everything they could to stop him, and most games he still cannot be stopped. So credit to him. And credit to the coaching staff for recognizing that of the LA Rams and the scouting department. Because I think he's going to be pretty dang good. I don't know how good it will be this year. I really don't know. Just like any rookie. We don't know. It was from college to the NFL. We just don't know. But I have faith in what they saw, what Coach McVay and his staff saw in Cam Akers. And I expect him and the other back from last year's draft, Darrell Henderson, to both step up and compete for starting roles or rotational roles. I don't know how it will end up, happening. But they both need to ball out because with Todd Gurley being gone, obviously Malcolm Brown will probably see some goal line situations. We shall see. But they need to ball out. They have to make those draft picks, worth it to help this team out. And we shall see. But I do feel good about the pick. And only time will tell if it was a good pick for both of them. Both Henderson in the third last year and then Cam Akers being the second round pick this year. We shall see. But moving on to the receivers. Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, Josh Reynolds obviously are all penciled in as the trio that should start week 1 and should be the starters going forward. But we did draft with our other second round pick, a receiver from Florida, and his name is Van Jefferson. And who is he? People might say, as I was not too sure who he was. As I, along with many other fans, thought Denzel Mims, the Baylor receiver, was going to be the pick here. Van Jefferson came from a Florida offense that, yes, they did throw the ball, and he was their number 1 receiver. But they were more of a defensive-minded team and run-the-ball team and play-action pass. So Van Jefferson's stats at Florida were never huge, like maybe other receivers in the SEC, playing at LSU, playing at Bama, where they were spread air raid, it felt like. With Van Jefferson, he did start out his career at Ole Miss, and he was teammates for one season with DK Metcalf and A.J. Brown. DK being the number 1 receiver for Seattle now, and A.J. Brown being presumably the new number 1 in Tennessee, as they both had tremendous rookie campaigns, having 9+ touchdowns and I think 1,000 yards each. They balled out, and they were, second-round picks, and they played well. And Van Jefferson, when they were together in Ole Miss, beat them out for more playing time, as they were all young freshmen. But when Ole Miss did get hit with the sanctions in Van Jefferson's, or the end of Van Jefferson's sophomore year, he decided to leave, and that's when he transferred to Florida. Now, let me tell you something else about Van Jefferson, which is pretty crazy. And you can look this up, Google it, YouTube it. My God, this dude cooked corners in the SEC running routes. It was crazy to watch, to be honest with you. And I know people say the Alabama receiver that ended up going to Denver, Jerry Jeudy, in the top 20 of this year's NFL draft, that he was the best receiver. But I think Van Jefferson might be better. I think he is better, to be honest with you. It is the way he set up corners with leverage, with his body positioning, his fake outs, looking like he's going to go one way and the other. His footwork, incredible footwork. Quick feet, which you have to have, running routes. I mean, depending on the route, it calls for different, speed levels in your feet. But you can look this up, guys. There are multiple coaching clinic tapes. There are multiple coaching videos of them breaking down Van Jefferson running routes from his days in Ole Miss all the way up to his final years at Florida, as coaching points to teach either their programs and or a private receiving coach or a private football camp coach, them heavily breaking down Van Jefferson and just giving him A+, and this is how you run routes. That's how good it was. And there are also videos out there of Van Jefferson doing working one-on-one drills with quarterbacks at the Senior Bowl, as which he played in this last year. As the Senior Bowl, for those of you who don't know, is the bowl, the bowl game / all-star game for only seniors that are planning to enter the NFL draft. And you can't just show up to this, by the way. You have to be invited. So they always film their practices, as obviously that will be used for, potential talent evaluators of NFL franchises. As, the Senior Bowl is important, and the Rams have been known to be big on players at the Senior Bowl. As famously, Cooper Kupp balled out in Senior Bowl practices at the game, and we took him. So with Terrell Lewis in his one-on-one drills, he cooked a ton of corners and defensive backs. And you can look this up on YouTube. There is someone who kind of put up a little compilation of all his routes that he ran against the corners in those one-on-one drills. And the quarterbacks missed a lot of passes on him. So every ball should have been completed. And it was not because of Van Jefferson. It was because of the quarterbacks throwing crap balls in the one-on-one drills. They were throwing bad balls. But he was cooking them. Slant routes, out routes, in routes, skinny post, all these, all NFL basic stuff, but he was cooking them on it. It's really crazy to watch. You guys should watch that. As Sean McVay has stated, and as many of our offensive staff has stated, that we do really, really value good route runners. As you know, Cooper Kupp is one of the best. Robert Woods is also one of the best the league has to offer in running routes. Josh Reynolds, he runs good routes, no doubt. But this kid, Van Jefferson, runs some of the best routes I've seen, even from pros. As luckily for young Jefferson, that Jefferson Sr., his dad is an NFL wide receivers coach. And he's not just any wide receiver coach. He is Calvin Johnson, the great Calvin Johnson, Megatron, the former Detroit Lions receiver. When he was there, Megatron said, "This is the best coach I've ever had," multiple times. Jefferson Sr., the wide receivers coach, as I think he is a receivers coach for the New York Jets currently today, with Adam Gase out there in upstate New York, New York City. So he has been taught how to run NFL routes probably since he was in Pop Warner, 10, 11, 12, 13 years old. And obviously, as your body matures and he grows up and becomes, his man body comes in, then things get better. But, I mean, he's already there. Look at his highlights, guys. Look at his film. He also torched LSU for like 3 touchdowns this last year, the national champions, on corners who will, presumably and have been predicted to be first round, second round picks in the 2021 NFL draft. He was cooking those guys, by the way. So this is a good pick, as many people did not know, including I. But do not be surprised that if Josh Reynolds gets hurt and Van Jefferson is vaulted into the lineup, that Josh does not get his job back, as unfortunately Josh's contract, along with Cooper Kupp's as well, they will both be up after 2020. This is technically the last year of the Rams unless they both get new deals, Cooper Kupp and Josh Reynolds. As I expect the Van Jefferson move in response to Josh Reynolds most likely walking, as he is a starting caliber receiver in this league. And we've been, very blessed that he is, our third now, but was a 4th string receiver for so long. And shout out to Josh for stepping in for Cooper Kupp when he tore his knee in 2018, and then Brandon Cooks when he was on it, on and off hurt in 2019. Did a damn good job, as he has earned the starting job as of right now. But I would love to see all 4 of them on the field at the same time, going back to the versatility I need to see and would like to see from the Rams offense, as Kevin O'Connell will most likely, bring to the table. I want to see that. That'll be great. I don't know if there'll be enough DBs in the league that could handle that. I'm sure there's a couple groups, maybe the Bears secondary, maybe the Patriots secondary, and there's probably others I'm forgetting. Those the ones that come up, the top of my head right now. But it seems that 4 wide receiver set, at least for this season, as they will all be together, that seems pretty damn deadly, and I would like to see that. Jefferson, Reynolds being on the outside because they are the taller receivers, and then Kupp and Woods working the slots. That'd be tough. That's a tough matchup for a secondary. I would love to see that. So those are the receivers that I could see playing, and I would hope to see play this year in 2020. Now moving on to the tight ends, we first start off with number 89, Tyler Higbee, who had a crazy December of the 2019 season, where he had like 5 100-yard receiving games, which helped him set the Rams franchise record for a tight end with 734 yards receiving in the season. Pretty gnarly that he did that all in the month of December. And that all came with him getting 10 or more targets in the game, or throws. As the most he got in the other, 11 games beforehand was no more than 7. And most of the games he only averaged about 3 to 4 targets. And what's crazy is that Gerald Everett was more, thought of as the receiving threat as a tight end for the Rams. Tyler was more of the run blocking tight end. That was what, opponents have thought. That's what most LA Rams fans have thought. As we know, he could catch and he could run, there's no doubt. But Everett was seen as the pure receiving threat. If you wanted a tight end to go run routes and catch passes, you had Everett do that. If you wanted to get, dirty and physical in the run game, but also a guy who could catch passes, you would have number 89 Higbee for sure. But with Everett being on and off the field with injuries this year, and towards the end of the season when Higbee was for sure getting wide open a lot for some odd reason, and he was getting multiple targets and creating extremely big plays. He is not a slowpoke, ladies and gentlemen. He is not. He's got some wheels, and he can run pretty dang good. So I expect him and his role to advance and to, blossom into something bigger with the Rams this upcoming season. As he did sign that 4-year extension, by the way, in case people forgot that. A modest extension, nothing crazy where he was, breaking tight end records for contracts. It was one where, Les Snead and McVay, and they said, hey, we want to keep this guy. And I said, that was a good signing. It was nothing too expensive. Nothing too expensive at all. But he's for sure has earned it just off this December performance. My goodness. Like I said, imagine if he was getting that amount throughout the season, the prior, 10, 11 games. My goodness, he would probably have George Kittle numbers. Maybe. Who knows? But he did set the Rams franchise record, basically balling out in all of December. Crazy. Really crazy to think about. So I expect his role to flourish with Kevin O'Connell, being a tight end guy, just like McVay is. And then moving on to the other tight end that I expect, to play significantly, of course, is Gerald Everett. As he had 408 receiving yards, nothing crazy, but like I said, he was on and off the field with injuries this past year. And let's not forget, he is a baller if he gets the chance, with the ball in his hands to create something. As he had that monstrous performance against the Seattle Seahawks in Seattle on that Thursday night game, the first game against Seattle of the year in 2019, where he had 136 receiving yards. And he had crucial catches to, set up touchdowns and to also set up, the possible but missed game-winning field goal. He was practically unstoppable in that game. But like I said, injuries kind of held him back a little bit, to be able to produce on the field as he was, again, on and off the field. But I expect that duo to be pretty deadly together, especially with Higbee showing that he can ball out now in the receiving game. I expect that duo to be pretty dang good in double tight, packages or even the jumbo with the rookie, Bryson. We shall see what happens, but I expect them to be, competing for best tight end duo with, the guys up in Baltimore and the guys down south in Tampa. We shall see what happens, but I'm pretty big on that group. I expect big things from that group. As let's not forget now, Gerald Everett is on his last, year of his rookie contract as well. As 2020 will be a big prove it year, not only to maybe come back with the Rams, which is still, possible and hopefully so. He's a good tight end, no doubt. But also it might be an audition for other teams. So we want Gerald Everett to stay healthy and ball out, just like I expect Tyler Higbee to as well. Now, going back to the O-line here, as this was the unit that I clamored was the reason why we were having so many problems in 2019. As many fans, casual fans, super fans, all any fan of the Rams, we all realized that the O-line was not playing up to par and was, might be the number one reason why the season was, a failure. We still went 9-7. It is a winning record to be 9-7, but it is nice to be, 10 or more and to make the playoffs, as we were, one game behind the Minnesota Vikings of making the playoffs. And many of that being to bad O-line games, and many of them being close scoring games, is that if they played maybe a tad better in a couple here and there crucial plays, maybe we are in the playoffs and maybe we feel a little bit different. Maybe we don't let go of the players we let go. Maybe coaching staff, people that were let go, stay, and we'll have stood. Who knows? That's an alternate reality that we don't live in. We live in this reality where the O-line did not play well. But this is the group that I think should start to go into 2020. The OG, the veteran, Andrew Whitworth, all-world Andrew Whitworth at left tackle. No question about it. Glad to have him back. Glad that he wanted to come back. And he signed a 3-year deal, by the way. It wasn't a 1-year deal where he's going to take it 1 year at a time. It seems that he is committed to play beyond 2020, which is nice. And he looks great. He seems great. He recently shaved. I had seen in an interview with him, and he said that he feels rejuvenated. His passion for football has not changed at all. So that's good news for Rams fans everywhere. It seems like he will be here at least for the remaining 3 years on that deal he signed, which is great. So Whitworth comes back at left tackle. I expect Austin Corbett to start at left guard, as Austin Corbett did come in and was part of that unit that ended up, playing well towards the end of the season, as it was Corbett, Blythe, Bobby Evans, and then Demby and others rotating in at that right guard. But we'll get into that after. So Corbett, I expect to earn that left guard spot. Austin Blythe, I would hope he would be the starting center, as he was the starting guard to start the year and was the starting guard in previous seasons and did a damn good job. But because Brian Allen did not play particularly well and got his butt kicked a bunch before he, was extremely hurt and missed the rest of the season, Blythe did step into that center and did solidify and hold it down there and played pretty good. So I hope he returns from his, from that starting spot at the end of last year and retains that going into this year. Austin Blythe at center. Now, Bobby Evans at right guard, I like a bunch, as he did a damn good job at right tackle when Rob Havenstein, was not playing well, and then he ultimately got injured and missed the rest of the season. He did a damn good job at right tackle. I don't think he let up a sack all year in his 5-6 games that he was a starter towards the end of the season. Pretty dang good. And people who forget who Bobby Evans is, he was the blindside left tackle, lineman, blocker, bodyguard of Kyler Murray when they were there at Oklahoma. And Bobby Evans was a 4-year starter, so he also blocked for Baker Mayfield. So he blocked for 2 Heisman candidates and kept them clean to get them those awards. So Bobby Evans is pretty good for what I've seen in this short sample size. So I would hope he would be at right guard. And then Rob Havenstein, since he has, a big lineman contract to fulfill and to play up to, as he had played extremely well 2018 and back, I expect him to return at right tackle and play well, and hopefully play well. We shall see. And I hope he does, as he could be a cap casualty or even a trade partner if he does not play well. going into 2020. But it seems that all the lineman injuries have been addressed and they are doing well. I'm happy for everybody. They're healthy. At the end of the day, they are part of this team. No matter how good or bad they're playing, as long as they are part of this team, you hope that their health, physically, mentally, all that stuff is always doing well. So that is the unit I expect or would hope for as well to come out in 2020 and start and play well. I really, really hope so. As again, that unit, if I did not say this already, that unit was a bottom 5 unit in the entire NFL. They were bottom 5 guys overall. 100% bottom 5 in the run game. And for sure bottom 10 in the pass game, pass protection wise. It was not good, and that is why Jared Goff struggled. Or one of the reasons why. Because when first of all, when you're not running the ball well, a lot of our offense was predicated off of running the ball well to set up those play action passes. Play action, for those of you who don't know, meaning you fake like you're gonna run, and then you immediately throw off of that fake. So defenders could get suckered in to saying, oh, they're running the ball, and they go to get the running back, and then he doesn't have the ball, and now people are wide open in the secondary, which is what happened a lot in years past, and we got away with it. But with the run game not being the same, with us staying 11 personnel, it was not working out. And then plus on top of that, when we did just want a straight back pass, Goff was getting pressured pretty fast, guys. Rewind the games, watch them. The pocket being that the little bubble that the quarterback lives in when he's back there looking at receivers to get open and throw the ball. It's that circle where the linemen are kind of unintentionally forming, keeping the defenders away from the quarterback. That is the pocket. That pocket was collapsing pretty dang fast. So a lot of the routes that we run are timing routes, and let's just say you got to throw the ball on 3, right? 3 seconds in. So you snap, hike, 1, 2. On 3, he should be at that certain spot, throw it, right? But that wasn't happening because linemen were getting beat and getting, bullied around. So Goff had to throw the ball away, or he took a sack before we could get to 3 and throw the ball on time in the spot that a receiver was supposed to be in, Or, if it wasn't a timing route like that, there was just no time. There was not enough time to let Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods get open, By the time they were open, Goff had to throw the ball away, or he ended up, getting hit or taking a sack because there was just not enough time to let the receivers get open in the first place to even have a chance to, get a completion. So a lot of those things hopefully are fixed. And I think the unit that I named, those 5, should give the Rams the best chance. As I know many fans were freaking out or, were angry, pissed, or upset that the Rams did not draft any linemen until the very last pick. And I get it. That unit was not good. As, Tremaine Ingram was the last pick. He was an offensive lineman for Clemson, a 4-year starter. So he's played in significant games. A pretty dang good O-lineman for, a 7th-round pick. Pretty cool. He was a first-team All-ACC, tackle. So we shall see. It's more depth, and maybe, let's see. Who knows? Maybe he might earn a starting job. Who knows? But I get why fans were clamoring for linemen throughout the draft, as we were making selections from round 2 all the way down to the last being Ingram in the 7th. I get it, but Sean McVay and Les Snead have said we have invested heavily in this group. I, being Sean McVay, is what he said, and Coach Cromer, our offensive line coach, they believe in this group, and we're going to develop them, and we believe in them to play well and play much better in 2020. So we got to take Coach's word and the front office's word on that, and we shall see, right? That's all we could do with all these picks and all these decisions. From free agency to the draft to keeping players, whatever it is, coaching changes, we shall see. That is the beauty of the NFL, as teams are predicted to either be crap or great and things go awry. either due to injuries or just teams just get better. That is the beauty of this game and why we tune in. It's the best drama soap opera that the world has to offer here, in my opinion, or at least the United States has to offer in the sports world. Pretty dang awesome. But moving on from the lineman is the kicker. Who is that kicker? Who I think is going to start? The rookie, Samuel Sloman from the University of Miami. Not Miami in Florida, the Miami in Ohio. People who don't know that school exists. As he was one of the most accurate kickers in this draft that was coming out into this draft. I know many liked the Georgia Bulldog kicker that had the goggles, as he was pretty good at Georgia, no doubt. But Samuel Sloman was the most accurate, even though I guess he did play in Division I, AA, FCS, football. It doesn't matter. It's still D1, guys. Come on. And he's a kicker. We're not asking. It's not like you played, O-lineman and you're going against lesser talent in those lower divisions. But a kicker it's the same thing. Make field goals, make good punts. And this guy did that. He had pretty dang good fields. He had 5 field goals that were for sure over 50 yards. Down the middle. Look at his highlights. Samuel Sloman. So I expect him to compete with the former Canadian football guys we brought in. And we need more, consistency out of that position. And we'll get to other things I think need to happen as well. So those are the two, major groups on offense and defense, including the 2 kickers, punter and the field goal kicker, kickoff starter. And as we look on, as I've stated, it's a talented group, no doubt. But we shall see how it all comes together. We just don't know. And including, the division that we're in, the NFC West, who knows how things will come together for the Rams, as our opponents are tough. 49ers are a Super Bowl contender. Seahawks are a contender as always. And the Cardinals aren't looking too bad. They've had some pretty good free agency moves, including, DeAndre Hopkins. Great. So those are the 2 groups, and we shall see what happens. But here are some things that I think need to happen for the Rams to have a better season than last, to improve from 9-7. These are some things I think that for sure need to happen. And I've kind of, started to go over them a little bit in my other statements about players and position groups. Number 1, again, the O-line needs to play at least, in the top 15. Be in the top 15, guys. Don't be in the bottom 5. If the Rams O-line can play in the top 15 of the NFL as a position group, then things are going to be a whole lot better, as that group was a major problem of why we lost so many games this year, or this past year in 2019. That is why. If they play even a little bit better, as the only way for this group is to go up, since it was so bad, all they need to do is just play in the top half of the league, and things will improve drastically. Number 2 being, I've already stated, more diversity in play calling, both offensively and defensively. We got away with, being very one-dimensional in schematics and in play calling, where, like I said, we lined up in 11 personnel, the 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, 1 running back, way too much, and teams caught on. And defensively, we got away with running maybe just cover 2, 1, 3, 6, and doing a little bit of stunts and a little bit of, different fronts. We need more diversity. We have the players to be diverse on both sides of the ball. We have all-world talents on defense. We have great talent on the offense. We need to make opponents stress about preparing for us, which I feel like they most likely were not stressing a whole lot, at least in the scheme that they were preparing for, the play calls that they were going to have to get ready for. I don't feel like teams were too worried like they were in years past. So we need to make teams fear us in the preparation. Obviously, they're going to fear going up against Donald. Obviously, they're going to, have fear about going up against Ramsey. Obviously, Cooper Kupp tears people apart and so forth in the passing game. But we need to make people stress and be like, damn, this is a lot I got to get ready for leading up to the game. And then on top of that, we do have the players. We have great players. That's what I need to see. More diversity in play calling, defense, and offense. Number 3, a big one. Goff improving on his pocket presence or awareness, however you want to look at it. Now, I know I said the line was a problem and the pocket was crashing, but there was a lot of times where he could have avoided it. And then obviously the great ones, the Mannings, the Bradys, the Brees that we've seen throughout the years, they were big pocket guys. They weren't big runaround guys, but they would evade the rush by simple footwork in the pocket, stepping up, a couple little steps here, a little step to the right, a little step to the left, and it was the big difference between being a sack or a fumble, and ended up being a big touchdown, a big completion, or a little scramble that resulted in positive yards instead of negative yards. As Goff recently has been, a victim of getting the ball ripped out of his hands as he is winding up to throw the ball. So when he's at that halfway point where the ball is not necessarily, coming forward to throw the pass, but it's that wind up where it's, coming behind his head and behind his body. And he was getting, the ball smacked out of his hands, which caused a fumble. That has happened a lot the last couple years in general. So if you maybe would have stepped up another step or two, then that doesn't happen, and maybe he hits that pass. We'll never know, obviously, from the past, from the past games. But in the future, that's something he could be more aware of. Feel the rush without looking at it, as the great ones do. And Jared has the arm talent of a great one, no doubt. And we've seen it. We've seen him put up spectacular numbers and spectacular performances. But this is the next step, as he still is a young quarterback. Just improve the pocket awareness for Jared Goff. That is what he should work on. And then defensively, just outside of play calling, we just need to improve on stopping the run, as teams ran the ball down our throat quite a lot. In pass defense, we were pretty solid. Other than there are some games I can point out where we got air raided. And those are opponents we do play again in 2020. And we'll get to that in another video. But stopping the run as a whole, which hopefully this front seven can do. I'm not sure about the inside linebackers. They have a lot to prove. I'm not too sure. But I do think that the combination of Robinson, Brockers, and Donald with Floyd, who has been a good run stopper in his career at Chicago, Ebukam, who was a tough son of a gun when he has been on the field. I hope that group does improve drastically, and they need to. They need to. As we play a lot of strong O-line units this year. O-line units that have improved in our own division and out of conference that we play. So that's something I would like to see. Number 5 being Jalen Ramsey earning the title as number 1 shutdown corner. Look it. There are people out there, and it's ridiculous. It's laughable. They're like, he's overrated. If Jalen Ramsey was on your team, you'd be pretty damn happy and you wouldn't have nothing to say. Nothing negative to say. Come on. Don't be ridiculous, guys. For the people out there that say Jalen's not a top 5 corner. Stop it. Stop it, stop it, stop it. He is, and he needs to prove that this year. As there are a ton of matchups. A ton. Against quality, legit, number 1 receivers. There's so many. Even in our own division. Think about it. DeAndre Hopkins twice a year. DK Metcalf twice a year. As I expect him to keep improving as a receiver. Right? Who else am I forgetting right now? We have Deebo Samuel and now rookie receiver Brandon Ayuk, who I was big on in the draft, who the Niners took in the first as well. Amari Cooper, week 1. Deshaun Jackson, Alshon Jeffrey, Stephon Diggs, Golden Tate, Allen Robinson, Devontae Parker, Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, Mohamed Sanu. I mean, that's a lot. That is a lot. A ton. So Jalen needs to earn that title this year. And if he plays up to that top 5 and hopefully number 1 overall corner, beating out, Stephon Gilmore of that current title, the Rams will improve. And I think he can do it. He could do it most definitely. And the last one I started to go over with the kickers is just make those crunch time field goals. As Greg DeLeg obviously notoriously missed that kick to end the game in Seattle early in the year. As that one game was the difference between us getting into the postseason and missing the playoffs. It was. Obviously, other games were just as important, but that was the one where we should have won for sure. As the W was in our hands, or was in our leg, and it was missed. And other times too, even going back to the 2018 season of the Super Bowl, as Greg missed a kick that could have kept us alive, towards the end of that Super Bowl, but he did miss it, and that was it. It sealed the deal for the Patriots to win that game. As we do need to make those field goals, as we do have a very tough schedule. It is a top 10. I think we are number 7 toughest, schedule in the NFL. We have a lot of tough opponents, including in our own division. As I've kind of gone over the receivers of those teams, you can get an idea. And that's what needs to happen. All those things need to happen, and the Rams will be better than 9-7 for sure this upcoming season. And in episode 2 that will be coming out very shortly, we'll be doing a Rams 2020 season schedule breakdown. We'll be going through it week by week, 1 through 17, opponent by opponent of the team's, projected lineup, who I think is going to be out there to face the Rams, offense, defense, special teams. We'll be going through the opponent's, key, additions and losses, just like I did this episode with the Rams, from, the difference between 19 and 18. We'll be going through what I think the Rams need to do to win that game, and ultimately what I think is going to happen in that game. And we'll also be exploring the ceiling and the floor of the LA Rams season. So what is the best record that they could possibly have, and what is the worst possible record that could happen for them? And then ultimately, at the end of it, you'll know what I think the record the LA Rams will have for 2020, and what I think, what will happen going forward with the free agents and others that are a part of the LA Rams right now. But thank you guys so much for listening today, episode 1. Like I said, we'll be doing a ton of film breakdown as the season, is kickstarted, hopefully, with all the craziness that's going on. And not only the NFL, but the MLB, the NBA, and other sports, as others will join me in the future, and we'll definitely be cranking out a lot of content for you guys. So thank you very much. Turn on your notifications, and we'll be definitely getting back to you ASAP. Thank you again.